All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm not sure if I started or not. Hello, everybody. Welcome. And my name is Linwood Fields. I'm going to moderate today's panel on Inclusive Horizons, Elevating BIPOC Women in Business. Woo! Glad you're all here. And, I want to thank Candace, who is in the room, for creating a space for us to actually have these conversations in the Montana Chamber. And I just wanted to start before we start with the other night I was putting my kid to bed and he said, "Can I tell you a story?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Can you listen with your whole heart?" And I really liked that comment. So that's what I'm going to do this week is listen with my whole heart. And with that in mind, I'm going to listen to these amazing women with my whole heart and start the panel with the questions. All right, before we start, there are microphones behind you and you're going to have to share them. And we'll go ahead and start at the end. Could you do a quick introduction of who you are, and then we'll start the questions. And I think they're already on.
Are they on? Are they on? Oh, good. I'm Liz Markey, and I'm head of community engagement at Two Bear Capital, which is headquartered in Whitefish, Montana, but with offices in Palo Alto, San Diego, Boston, and New York.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mariah Omiso, and I am the marketing coordinator for Native Women Launch. I'm originally from Browning. I grew up on the Blackfeet Reservation, and I am currently located in Missoula.
Good morning, everyone. Nahaniti. My name is Cora K. Chandler. My proper name is Eagle Woman. I grew up on the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation, and I'm the owner of Cora K Productions. And I actually do produce indigenous fashion shows, music, comedy, and we do a lot of art and craft shows within our community. I live in Billings. And I'm really honored and thankful to be here today, to be amongst all of these amazing women in Montana. And I just think that it's such an amazing day because it's International Women's Day, and also we're celebrating together here in this beautiful state. So thank you.
Hello, Shoda. My name is Izachahua Idachiwia, Sweet Sage Woman. My name is Yolanda Oldorf. I am what do I say? I am the artist and the CEO of my business, Sweet Sage Woman, and I'm Crow, and I grew up in and around Billings, Montana, and I hope that anybody who sees and comes across my business is encouraged and empowered indigenously. And I'm very, very honored to be here today.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many amazing faces here this morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Karen Dove. I am a descendant of the Pikwakanagan First Nation from Canada. Recently immigrated, very excited to now be able to say that I'm a Montanan. I'm also currently the director of the Native Women Launch program, which is a program that we're going to talk to you about today that I'm very proud of. And also looking forward to sharing stories of some of the amazing women who have helped us with this program, who are sitting on the panel with us today. So looking forward to the conversation, and thanks so much for joining.
Thank you all for being here. All right, first question I want to just start is, why is it important to lift up and support BIPOC female entrepreneurs in Montana? Any of these questions, feel free to jump in, but Yolanda, would you mind starting with that question?
Okay, so I've spent a number of years assisting many of our Crow tribal entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. And being an Indigenous woman and an Indigenous person, we understand that there's so many more hurdles and so many more difficulties that we have to overcome, just even on the day-to-day. And we often find ourselves having to educate the public at large, especially with my business. I have to educate people that, like my designs, my fashion is for anybody and everybody. And it's hard to educate people when they don't want to hear that it's better to support an Indigenous designer than it is to support appropriated fashion, which is like Southwestern fashion or, appropriated designs. It gets very tiring having to continually, as Indigenous people, we have to educate people all the time, public at large. And it's really tiring, having to take on that responsibility to tell people, okay, this is the situation, these are the hurdles, these are what we have to go through, this is who I am, this is my people, and you know, it's exhausting. So helping us to, you know, helping us overcome all those difficulties, because we're, you know, you guys as non-Indigenous people are at a level and we are several levels below. And, you know, helping us to rise, because we do have so much further to come in order to be where, you know, at that level. So.
And I might add to that, I mean, it's a community of women here. It's amazing, as I said, to see everyone's faces. And, you know, this morning we talked about, you know, the gender divide and what it means as women to be pursuing a dream or pursuing a goal, and both the opportunities that are associated with it, right, that secret sauce that all of us have, but also the barriers that we realistically face. And then if you are a BIPOC woman and you are trying to meet that dream, get to that goal, be successful, you know, as you mentioned, there's even more challenges associated with that. At Accelerate Montana, what we want to promote is inclusive economic prosperity in the state. So when you think about why it's important to support a female BIPOC entrepreneur, it's exactly that. We want everybody to have an opportunity to be successful. And I think part of that is looking at what are the programs, what are the pathways, what are the ways that we either individually or collectively can follow or can use to remove those barriers for individuals who are really just looking to participate, looking to be kick-ass like everybody else in the room. And so for me, that's why it's so important to support BIPOC female entrepreneurs, because I personally want these amazing women who are already extremely successful in their own right, and women like them and like us, to be successful, always.
Thank you. We've brought it up a few times. Can you talk a little bit about what is Native Women Launch and why it's so important? Mariah, will you start?
Okay. So Native Women Launch is a nonprofit based out of Missoula. What we do is we offer free online courses for Indigenous women, and they cover things from business or building your business, building your leadership skills, personal finance. These courses were created by an Indigenous woman named Diana Bigby, and they are for Indigenous women. And what's so important about it is that these courses, like I said, are meant for Indigenous women, and so it creates a more powerful learning opportunity experience for them, because business is not typically, what am I trying to say? It's not typically meant for Indigenous people, and so having something that is tailored for Indigenous women like Cora and Yolanda is powerful, and it's important to have their own spaces where they can succeed in.
And I think I would add to that this program, it's a partnership program. So it's a partnership program with Google. It's a pretty big name, pretty big corporate presence, as well as the Salish Kootenai College and also Blackfeet Community College. And one of the reasons why this program was funded is because it's looking at how you can provide a resource or how you can provide tools to promote more equity in the business space. So, you know, what happens when somebody has free financial literacy tools? What happens when someone has free business tools? What happens when someone has the opportunity to learn about how to present their business? You know, the basics of a PowerPoint, the basics of being in front of a room and talking about the awesomeness that is their passion, their business, their enterprise. And so, you know, for me, the program itself, it's a series of courses. It's a community space. It's also a place to tell stories of amazing female Indigenous entrepreneurs in Montana, which is a key part of the culture and also a key part of the program. And right now, it is the foundation that we're going to build on. Because for me, while the program right now is free courses along with storytelling and a great community space, my hope is that this year it will also be a fall gathering for people to learn from one another and to be able to talk to one another about their businesses. My hope is that it will continue to grow and be maintained because it's just such an important thing. And I would highlight the importance of the program by giving some real examples that were provided to me by ladies that I have the opportunity to work with. So imagine you want to grow your business and get a skill, and you want to take a course. And paying for that course is the difference between you taking the course and you getting groceries. Real example provided by me, by somebody. That's why this program for me is also really important, because it takes away the financial barrier that may be associated with somebody getting the skills they need to be successful and to be contributing to the Montana economy.
So we have 2 participants of the course, and Cora, I was wondering if you could start. How was participating in the Native Women Launch impactful to you? What are the values you bring to your work for your community?
Well, one thing I'm really seeing is, as a Native entrepreneur, is a lot of our Indian business and just the men and women in the communities, a lot of us are kitchen, home, we're at our kitchen table businesses. Like, I do a lot of production, a lot of different outreach in the community, and they're like, so where's your office? And I'm like, I'm a kitchen table. And just being able to, work from home and whatnot, but just working with Native Women Launch and them being able to provide these resources and really having the tools set forth and like being able to do them virtually is powerful, especially here in Montana, because we know the harsh winters. We know that, to come here was a 2-hour drive, and we live far apart. So just thinking about the ruralness and how do we have that impact in our Indigenous communities is through, having it available online, and that has been a powerful tool. And then these courses will give a lot of our entrepreneurs the access to how to learn how to do a profit and loss sheet. Also, like, how do we make sure that they're doing their taxes correctly? So all of these things are super vital and important as we're learning to grow our businesses. And then how do we evolve and start getting storefronts and different things like that. And then also networking within our community with looking at the powerful impact that Montana has been actually having a lot of films, a lot of things. We have a lot of movie stars moving here to the state of Montana. And so how do we, as Indigenous people, work with the non-Indigenous communities to really bring in the tourism, and how do we work together to grow our economy? So I think with Yolanda, the work that she does, I like to be a connector with the artists to resources as well as to other people in these communities so that they understand the amazing impacts that Native Women Lead provide for us.
Yolanda, would you like to answer that too?
What was it again?
Yeah. How was participating in Native Women Launch, and what are the values you bring from work to your community?
Oh man, Cora hit a whole lot of that. No. It's, the thing that I really love about Native Women Launch is that, like I'm sure Cora too experienced this, is that we didn't see a lot of our own people doing what we're doing. And I'm really thankful I got to participate in it, because the younger generations and even the older generations that had given up on that dream, they get to see their own faces. They get to see people that they know, or that they like have heard of, or that honestly, Indigenous world is small. I was visiting with somebody earlier, and they were telling me people. I was like, I know that person. So, that connection, and then like having that person reflected on the screen is like, oh, they did it, I can do it. Having that example, they can do it, I can do it. And not to mention, you know, with one of us succeeding, it usually means that you're feeding a family, and that, you know, like, you're providing support to people that are supporting others, not just their immediate family. They're supporting the community. They're, you know, like I said, it's a small world, and, you know, we're connected in so many ways as Indigenous people, and it's Native Women Launches, you know, is helping us do that even better, helping our own people even better.
Thank you. Liz, I have a question for you, and this is maybe a question for all of us to kind of think and answer internally as well. Liz, as head of community engagement at Two Bear Capital, how does your role intersect with the mission of promoting diversity and inclusion, particularly in supporting BIPOC women in entrepreneurship?
So, first of all, my great-grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee, so I have an Irish grandmother, so I have a connection to you, even though I have weird red hair. But and it means a lot to me. I mean, it was a culture that I grew up learning and respecting a lot. And I wanted to be in venture capital the first time I figured out what venture capital was. I'm 70 years old, and there were no women in venture capital in the South, believe me. But we are all connected in such amazing ways. And my boss, Mike Gogan, when he went back into business, I said, I'm not going back to work full time unless you launch this farm with more than half women. And he said, done. Because it makes for a really different culture, very different culture. But I look at it this way. We have so many challenges and problems, and I deeply believe in every fiber of my body that those problem solvers are everywhere. But opportunity is not equally distributed. And so for me, this is not about helping, it's about survival and seeking out those amazingly creative, brilliant problem solvers that we desperately need in this world. I just got back from India late Sunday night, and I went to actually a woman entrepreneur conference in India, and the opening line was, women contribute $11 trillion globally in uncompensated labor. And for me, you know, why didn't I want to be in venture capital? For a lot of reasons. I'm like curious about everything possible, but it pushes big change. I mean, it pushes big change in a way that nothing else does. You don't, and I've always, and it took me a while I struggled with, because I didn't go in it to make money, but it's so fabulous to have your own money. I mean, it's just, it allows you so many opportunities and so many possibilities. It is, you know, if it is to be, it's up to me, and anything that keeps you from being self-actualized is something to be dealt with. So when Candace, this has been a dream of mine for a very long time, especially to have our state chamber figure out that this really matters. I own the URL, you can't be what you can't see. And it's just too damn hard to be the first one. It just is. I mean, not everybody wants to do that. So I commend each of you, because it is hard. It is hard to step out of the cultural norm. It is hard not to be the good girl, the quiet girl. I can remember as a kid my mother saying, please don't ask another question, please. And that's all I do all day. I mean, that's what I get paid for now. I love it. So that's what, when Mike hired me, I said, you know, we invest in highly technical biotech and companies. And I said, you know, I'm not a scientist. He said, I don't care. He said, write your own job description. It's really important for us to be founded in Montana, to be part of this community. I mean, we're not going to invest in a lot of companies here because we don't have a huge biotech infrastructure here. But so I spend my money on STEM, diversity, women in wealth, girls in robotics, girls in coding, and it's wonderful. And Mike let me, he said, take your budget out of the firm. I don't want anybody knowing or telling you what to do. You do what you want to do. And this really matters to our future. So thank you all for being here today.
So continuing with that, the rest of the panel members, why is it important more generally to support BIPOC women in business, and how can this audience listening be supportive?
First of all, go to their websites and buy their products. Okay, next.
Oh, am I next? Okay. Economic development. So most of the communities that BIPOC women are from are underserved, poverty rates are high. By directly supporting these Indigenous women and their businesses, you are directly contributing to their local economy. You're making jobs. Yeah.
I guess I have a quick little story. I actually work with a lady that she actually won a Grammy for her aesthetics and her work in the country as a designer. And she recently went through a tragic car accident that left her husband paralyzed. And so it changed her dynamics of her business tragically. Like, she was just not getting, booked for shows or not having the ability to create. So this working with somebody like her for myself and being able to bring light and providing platforms for our Indigenous women and gentlemen to showcase their artwork, like Yolanda's, like Brocade Stops Black Eagle. It's tremendous. We have a lot of these women. It's not just that we're so poor and this and that. She actually has a master's degree. Brocade has a RN degree, and they decided to put their day jobs aside to pursue their entrepreneurship dreams. And so they have those degrees, but they decided to change their whole life into putting their artistic beliefs and their work out there to share with all of us. And so when we see these pop-up stores in Montana, you see, like, we're talking about the cultural appropriation, the fake turquoise, the stuff that you can buy in the airports and different things like that. You think about what it would look like if we turned Montana into the next Santa Fe Indian Market. That's my big dream with Big Sky and DigiFest, is to actually have us here in Montana be sought out as, we have over 13 Indigenous designers that are creating ready-to-wear clothing here in Montana, and it's growing, the number's growing. And we have artisans that are well-known, making, selling $1,000 art pieces, or 10,000, 20,000. So as we grow, you have the power to kind of, ask questions and don't be scared. And like, if you want to bridge that cultural gap, because here in Montana, we also want to break those barriers of, you think there might be something that you think you know about Indians. Don't be afraid to like really learn about us and talk to us, and like, how do we connect and how do we make a better impact without kind of breaking stereotypes. I think that's something like, here in Montana, we really need to do that. When we go to a small town and you see us being represented, it's amazing. And so that's something I want to share. And so you guys, as the women, go ahead and buy Yolanda's artwork. And then when you go, guess what? When you travel, I'm like a walking advertisement. People will like say, hey, oh my gosh, that's so neat. Where'd you get it? So I bust out business cards and I'm saying, hey, did you know you could buy this from so-and-so? And it's indigenously made, it's sustainable. Like, there's always there's a piece of like Yolanda's heart and everything that she makes, everything that these artisans are doing, and they're breaking those barriers. And we're seeing, and guess what? Lily Gladstone is gonna win that that Oscar. I guess that it might not seem like anything, but it's amazing. Yeah, it's a huge. It was great because it's like a huge impact. My son actually is gonna be seeing that on TV. He's used to seeing natives, and we never used to see that. What did we used to see? Dances with Wolves, and we grew up not having that cultural, like, being scared of speaking our language, being scared of all of those things, and we're changing that through And these ladies, through their work, they're making those amazing impacts. And so, sorry, I'll take too much.
You know, Cora said it best. It really is, you know, it really is taking it upon yourselves to educate yourselves on, you know, like this land that you're sitting on is Crow land. You know, like this is traditional Crow territory. And taking it upon yourselves to learn, like, the people that, you know, like, all of America is indigenous. Everywhere you walk was indigenous before colonization. And taking it upon yourself to take that responsibility to teach yourself about the people who were here before, and the fact that, and acknowledge the fact that we're still here. You know, we're still here. They did everything they could to destroy us, and we are still here. And, you know, finding and maybe making it a conscious effort, like every birthday, hey, I'm going to buy myself something indigenous. You know, maybe every Christmas I'm going to buy myself something indigenous. And just finding ways that best serves, you know, like is most appropriate to you to provide support. You know, maybe it is just sharing a story. Maybe it is just buying a product. Maybe it is just at least taking the responsibility to educate yourself. So.
I'm going to take that opportunity to read out some names of some amazing women, because it is about, you know, how can you support Native Women Launch. So Tina Begay, Red Tail Accounting, for those of you who need accounting services. Cora Chandler, Cora K Productions. Kayleen Big Knife, K Big Knife Design. Sherelle Martin, The Spoon and Fork. Miranda Crasco, MC Nutrition. Rebecca Jarvie, Erin Lemaire, Resident Photos. Emma Filestone, Rope Savvy. Yolanda Oldorf, Sweet Sage Women. And Chelsea from Chief in Design. So for any of you who are looking at the program and the designs associated with the program, she's the graphic designer that we work with. It's amazing to me to have this list of kick-ass women who have their own businesses, who are pushing in Montana. And it's amazing to me as well that through their businesses, they're also sharing stories that need to be uplifted and need to be supported. This is an amazing example of a story that needs to be shared, right? And so, you know, if you're thinking about, you know, how could I provide support? How could I help lift up amazing women who are building out their businesses in Montana? We have the list of all the women that we're featuring on our website, and they all have successful businesses in Montana. And if it's of interest to you, you can support them. And even if you don't need an accountant right now, although I think all of us need an accountant, even if you don't need an accountant right now, it's just thinking about if you share information about that business, you're sharing somebody's story. You may, in fact, be sharing a story about their family. You might be sharing a story about their community. You might be sharing a story about their culture. And these stories are as important to Montana and the state as any other story out there. So to your question about why, ultimately for me, that's why, because these stories need to be heard.
Thank you. We have two more questions, and then I do want to open it to the audience because I have a feeling some people might have some questions, and I want to leave enough time for that. Cora and Yolanda, would you just highlight any challenges or supports even in starting your businesses? Do we have enough time?
I'll try to be brief. Okay, so I've had, I think I counted about 5 or 6 businesses that have failed. And they were, you know, just kind of like a spur of the moment, like, I'm just going to do this, blah, blah, blah. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's probably why I went into business. That's why I went and pursued a business degree. It's not the same thing, though. actually operating a business on a day-to-day and like trying to figure out what you're doing is you know, you can learn about profit loss statements, you can learn about all this stuff, but I felt like it took me a long time to get to the point where I was ready to start a business because I wasn't ready as a person. Like, you need to be able to pick yourself up. You need to be able to dust yourself off and tell yourself, keep going, keep going, keep going. You have to learn to be your own cheerleader. And I'm having a difficult time right now. Like, in all honesty, I think I was just had an epiphany that I'm experiencing burnout. You know, being a full-time mom and a full-time, like I have a full-time job and, I have a house to run and going through the end of a very long-term relationship. And I'm like, all right, like, excuse me. I need to step back and take care of myself because I also have health issues now. And it's like, I have to stand up for myself in other ways. I have to, but that's so true. Like, you have to find it within yourself, get yourself ready, pick yourself up because you are the most important person in your life. And your relationship with yourself is the most important one and the longest one you'll have in your entire life. So I know it's kind of selfish, but it's not. It's self-preservation, You want to be around for your kids. You want to be around to see your grandkids and your great-grandkids, and you want to be around to help people. You got to take care of yourself. So that's my little...
I think mine is definitely understanding my generational trauma that I've been through and kind of learning how to unravel those and change. And for myself, like Yolanda said, I actually go to school. I'm at 14 credits full time. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up, and I'm 44 years old. But yeah, I'm still, finding that balance of family. Last year, I was like a director of a 300 plus employee place, and then I was producing things and going to school full time, and then my dad passed away, and in the mix of that, and I actually, it didn't hit me until the fall. I realized that I'm never oh my gosh, I'm never gonna see my dad again. So really making sure that you have balance in your life, and that as business women, we try not to get to that point of burnout, and making sure that we create that balance and create friendships and networks that support you, and learn how to seek help. And that's the biggest and hardest thing, I think, for Indian women, or even any woman, is to ever say, I need help. And I'm very blessed to have support with my family, and I kind of express myself and utilize our ceremonies to really, when I'm facing a challenge, even within my company, this year we have a big show that we're doing, and we experienced some lateral violence within a small group of women. And so I didn't really know what to do, so I went to a ceremony and prayed about it. And then I was able to come back to the table with a solution. And so that's really important to me, is finding balance and challenges.
Thank you, thank you. We have time for one more question, and then I do want to open it up if anybody has questions. Karen, to kind of close out this panel, how can people in this audience get involved with Native Women Launch in 2024?
And I hope that you do. Offer a hand, ultimately. If the stories of either of these amazing women touched you in any way and you feel you have a service to offer, introduce yourself. Promote their businesses. They're both here. We also have other businesses and other business women who are involved in the program. Sharing information about their businesses helps them achieve the dreams that they are hustling for. Promote our program. We just launched 2 weeks ago. And we're super excited, and I am passionate about growing this program over the next year. But in our first week, we had 25 women sign up. That may not seem like a large number, but that is significant. So imagine what happens when everybody in this room goes on their social media and shares about Native Women Launch. We're looking for partners. We are looking for partners. We're currently funded by Google, as I mentioned. We have funding to the end of the year. We're looking to work with great people and great organizations to ensure that this is a sustainable program, because it is a really important program. And also, we are looking for amazing women to come out this fall when we bring every participant in our program together for a week of learning. And so if you have a talent, and all of you have an amazing talent in one area, and you think to yourself, you know what? So accounting might be taken, but maybe somebody out there might need some legal advice for their business. Or maybe somebody out there might need some other thing that I might be able to offer. We want to talk to you. We want you to come and join these ladies and have a conversation. We have a great partnership with the Rocky Mountain Women's Business Center. Point to Cassie. They provide free business counseling to every participant in our program. And so you think about what that might do for participants in the program when they have free services. It's just another way, I think, to help promote, help support, and help lift up other female voices in the state that are important. And come talk to me also.
Thank you. I love that at a business summit, we're leading with our hearts. And with that, I would like to open up the room to have anybody ask any questions about anything that wasn't brought up.
Sure. I think that
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Hi, I'm Courtney Kibble-Lake. I love the statement, leading with their heart. So I've been debating how to ask this question. My family, a ranching family in Montana, been here a long time too, and I have to say I feel equally offended by some of the representations of our Native community and of our people. But my comment was on, and I guess we're technically a media, so a lot of times I see our reporters reaching out to cover issues and not being able to get to anybody who's willing to talk about certain issues. The other side, I'm a member of the Montana Chamber, and we are always looking for ways to get more Native women involved. And I'm a small business, so I'm personally passionate about getting more small businesses to these events because I don't have a lot of the departments that other larger companies do. So I'm wondering the conversation, I guess, surrounding just reaching across, like, we want to help, your stories are similar to our stories, but how to, I don't know, are there ways that people reach out that are offensive, or that people aren't doing it the right way, or the right path, so that we can work together better? Because I'm sure there's a number of people here that similarly, whatever they do, feel like want to work together. Yes, happy to help, buy something, but anyways, that's a lot. But just curious your thoughts on just reaching across those. But sometimes can be a lot of like political correctness that at the end of the day, we all want thriving rural communities. So how can we work together more?
I think like reaching out to like the Native women lead organizations or different ones like Accelerate Montana, there's a lot of different cultural relevancy courses, and teachers such as like Cassie runs above, I think she works for Montana Healthcare, Women's Healthcare Foundation. Leanne Bruce had does cultural relevancy. And of course it is kind of like you're kind of scared to ask questions, and I totally understand that. But also just, maybe having somebody like Cassie or somebody do the cultural relevancy come in and speak on, appropriateness and like how to navigate those relationships. And I would say too, like just even reaching out to on social media to someone like myself or Yolanda, people that are out there, we're all willing to tell our stories and really bridge those gaps and like working together through, creating a more diverse state. When we get into the airports too, I'm always going to the gift shop and kind of advocating and talking to the Downtown Billings Chamber of Commerce. How do we get in this space? How do we be represented? Wow, you guys are selling like a bunch of inappropriate things, and we have all kinds of designers here in Billings. Like, how can we help do that? You know, and it really would be an amazing space to do that.
So I'll speak from my own experience, which is north of the border, and it's important for me to say that because my time in Montana has been short, and I'm still very much a visitor here, so I want to be really respectful of that. My teachers, the people that I hold dear, always talk to me about this concept of right relationship, which is, at least in terms of my teaching, it's a sort of a way of being in the world where you respect relationship first. I just want to answer your question because I do think it comes from the heart. And the way that I was taught was just to recognize that in each community and in each nation, there are wise practices that are very important to follow when you have an ask or a request or an offer. So one of the things that I do anytime I would go into any community or even have a conversation with folks is I'll say, hey, like, so what would be the protocol in this situation? What's the right way for me to do this? Which is exactly what you did. That is, I think, and you can let me know, I think that is all you need to do. Because in doing that, you're showing this respect for the people that you are engaging with and basically saying, I want to do this in the right way, how do I do that? And normally when I have asked that question and framed it that way, people will say, well, right, you need to go and talk to council, or you need to go and speak with this elder, or you need to do this thing. And then that's what I do. And that helps to build relationship and build respect and build trust. So that would just be my advice from my own experience. The majority of that is north of the border, though. Would you agree? Yeah? Okay.
Great question. Anybody else have a question? Can I add something to that question as somebody who's been able to make films with a lot of Indigenous filmmakers for the last decade? As a Montanan, grew up in Whitefish between the Flathead Reservation and the Browning Reservation. We did not know each other. And that is a real thing that we are running into. And I think when you ask that question, I also think I love the word respect. Are you really willing to put in the work? Which means, are you going to know family and listen and build community and relationship? That has been my experience. If I just go in quickly and extract, that is never going to be welcomed. But if I come in and say, can I sit with you and listen to your stories and not ever interrupt the stories, especially if an elder is speaking? Can I bring a gift? Can I eat food with you? These are things that have changed myself personally, and I'm grateful for. But respect of a different way of operating is a big part of it, and probably just cold calling won't lead to much. But creating friendships and then being introduced to other friendships has been, in my experience, the way to start that. I don't know if that sounds accurate, but. Yes.
Hi, Julie Barnes. Thank you so much. It's wonderful talk. Cora, I really appreciated that you shared your journey with unpacking generational trauma. I think it's something that's not talked about enough, and I was hoping you could share as panel a little bit more too on that, and how the program is kind of helping participants with that as an added stressor as also building a business.
Well, I actually got introduced to that course through Leanne Brucehead, and she's from the Upsalaga Nation as well. But she came into, I used to work for Native American Development Corporation, and it's really recognizing the traumas that we went through as Indigenous people, and that's really from genocide to being placed on reservations, and then also you look at the Dawes Act that put Native, that actually was meant to, we actually have blood quantums, and the thought behind that was that we would actually, you know, like be weeded out eventually through our blood quantums, and our treaties wouldn't be honored. But also my grandparents, the late George and Margie Chandler, were part of the Relocation Act, and they were taken from their home in the 60s or early 50s and 60s and gone to Oakland, California. And can you imagine being all the way from north central Montana, where everybody was on horse and buggy still, and then being moved into a metropolis such as Oakland, California? My grandparents had to move back, or they were in California for a lot of years and moved back. But the traumas that they experienced is from our being on reservations and having the ration, being told that we couldn't hunt, and our whole life being changed, and having to be on rations and being secluded to a reservation. Did you know that even black people were citizens before Native Americans were even? So you think about that, and how, and not too long ago, my mom was a person that saw signs that said no Indians, dogs, or blah, blah, blah allowed in Harlem, Montana, not too long ago. So when we look at those traumas and how it affected us, our language, our young men, their hair being cut, and us not being able to speak on our language and our ceremonies being taken away from us, and then alcohol and all of these the food change, our diet. And so when they do the generational trauma, it opens our eyes to see, oh my gosh, that terror that our mothers felt when they were probably getting massacred and things like that. It runs through us. And so how do we acknowledge that and change that? Is powerful when they open up that. So for myself, I'm learning to recognize what triggers me, and instead of being angry, everybody tries to call my son oh, what a cute little girl, especially older ladies, and I get mad, and then he correctly is like, oh, I'm not a girl, I'm handsome, and my name's Grayson. How are you? And he's like, my braid, they just did a show about braids. And so I think when we do that generational trauma is helping us identify things that we need to overcome to be successful and to run our businesses, and how do we acknowledge that. And have you done the generational trauma, the trauma-informed training? So even a lot of our business folks now are starting to learn about it, and it's really important, and it helps us grow as people and be more successful and realize some of the things that we have to acknowledge as Indigenous people to be moving forward, and kind of change some of that too, being angry about what happened and trying to change the narrative.
I feel like we're just warming up, but unfortunately people are going to start entering with food. Before we close, I just wanted to thank all of you for your participation and for everybody for listening. I encourage us and invite us to have this be the beginning of friendship and conversation and incredible support of Native Women Launch and Native entrepreneurs, because I think Montana could definitely grow. So thank you all. Appreciate you being here.